Man, I miss Blockbuster. Welcome into this edition of Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here as we are going to go down memory lane, and we're going to bring you three potential blockbuster trade packages for the Baltimore Ravens. Who are some players that they could make a big move for this offseason? On this edition of Ravens Rundown, we will go through three big names that Baltimore could potentially acquire, show you some trade packages and some numbers, how they could fit in just a matter of moments. Before we do that, though, the bosses here at Chat Sports have put a little challenge out to us. They said, Tyler, there is no way you can gain 20 subscribers off today's video. And you know what? I said, watch me. We'll do it right now. Let's prove the bosses wrong. For the latest happenings on your favorite team, subscribe now for free. We're talking about your Baltimore Ravens all off-season long. No one's covering this team like we are. Subscribe now and prove the bosses wrong. YouTube.com/RavensTV. Let's begin at the receiver position with a big name, and that is Brandon Aiyuk. Let's go, Brandon. Brandon Aiyuk coming off a career season with the San Francisco 49ers. He was fantastic in 2023, and a big reason why the Niners ultimately made it to the Super Bowl. And you look at this Ravens receiving corps from what we saw in 2023. This was a group that was much improved, specifically from what they got out of rookie Zay Flowers, right? But I think what you have to look for if you're the Baltimore Ravens, with OBJ hitting the market in another year older and all the injuries he's endured, Nelson Aguilar hitting the free agent market, Rashad Bateman being a bit of a disappointment, you need a running mate for Zay Flowers. You need somebody to pair up with him and really take this receiving corps to the next level. It was much improved this year, but it still has work to do. If you make a trade for a guy like Brandon Aiyuk, then you're talking about going to a whole nother level from there. Brandon Aiyuk, former first-round pick, was a second-team All-Pro this past season, and you talk about consistency. Aiyuk is really starting to come into his own. You make this trade, you're getting a guy that is really just now entering his prime. He's had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons with the San Francisco 49ers, including this year, where he had a total of 75 catches for over 1,300 yards and 7 touchdowns. And he had Brock Purdy throwing him the football. To be honest, I'd feel a lot better to see what he could do with Lamar Jackson getting him the football personally. So what would it take to pull this off? You got to give up your first-round pick at number 30 overall. And then I'm looking at a third-round pick in 2025. I think this is the best-case scenario for the Ravens to pull off this potential trade here. This is about as cheap as it could potentially get. And that's what we're looking at with these trades today is really the cheapest, best-case situation for them to pull this off. And then you got to pay Brandon Aiyuk too, which obviously won't be cheap. But we've heard the rumblings that Aiyuk might want out of San Francisco. Could be a good home in Baltimore potentially. What do you guys think? Should the Ravens trade for Brandon Aiyuk? It's our pin comment today. Let us know what you think. Why for yes and for no. Should they pull off this trade or not? Let us know what you think. Next on the list, let's go defense. And we find Brian Burns, the star edge rusher from the Carolina Panthers. Now, he's expected to hit free agency, but the Carolina Panthers aren't just going to let him walk away for nothing. What I expect is that the Carolina Panthers are probably going to franchise tag Brian Burns and then look to trade him from there. And when you look at the trade market of potential edge rushers out there, they don't get better than Brian Burns, believe me, folks. And you look at this Ravens defense of trying to take that step up. Because what have we told you about the last couple of days? That with what you were about to lose on this Ravens defense, of all those guys going in free agency, you're probably going to take a step back. But if you add in a guy like Brian Burns, then this defense might be just as good, if not better, than what it was in 2023. Former first-round pick out of Florida State, two-time Pro Bowler as recently as 2022, and the man is certainly consistent. He's had 5 straight seasons with at least 7.5 sacks there with the Carolina Panthers. And think about this, too. The talent around him in Carolina has not been very good. He's had a lot of attention taken his way, a lot of double teams. With the talent on this Ravens defense, he would see a lot less of that. So you could really see him potentially step up and perform to another level there. This past year, Burns had a total of 8 sacks, 50 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, as well as 1 forced fumble and 1 fumble recovery. Here's what I'm looking at, okay? This is the trade I propose here, folks. Give up your first-round pick at 30th overall. Brian Burns is going to be better than almost every player you could possibly pick at 30 overall. Give up a third-round pick next year, 2025. And then I'm throwing in David Ojabo as well. Ojabo hasn't been able to stay healthy. I like his potential, but we're 2 years in at this point here, and the clock is ticking. I think you could throw away David Ojabo if you were to get a guy like Brian Burns and make this trade happen. Who's the player the Ravens should trade for? We've talked about a couple names today, but obviously there's other trade options out there. Weigh in the comments section. Name a player that you would like to see the Ravens bring in. Got a great deal that we're offering Ravens fans. We got hats on sale now at chatsports.com/Ravens hats. And let me sweeten up the pot for you here a little bit, folks. Not only do we have some great hats and plenty more to choose from besides just the ones you're seeing on your screen here, but Ravens hats for a limited time are on sale for up to 50% off. And then we also have some hats that we're offering free shipping as well. So jump on this now. It's only available for a limited time while supplies last. Go to chatsports.com/Ravens hats to get yours today. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Chatsports.com/Ravens hats to get yours today. All right, last on the list, another position of need for Baltimore. That is the corner spot, and that is where we find Patrick Surtain II from the Denver Broncos. It's no secret that the Ravens need some help at the corner spot as is. And you add Patrick Surtain to that, all of a sudden you're looking at potentially bringing in one of the best corners in all of football here. Former first-round pick. He has been fantastic, really just starting to hit the prime of his career with 2 straight Pro Bowls, including a first-team All-Pro selection in 2022. And we've seen him just play lockdown coverage in his time in Denver. The past 3 seasons, he's had 7 interceptions in that stretch, including one this year, and had 12 pass breakups with 69 tackles. Very nice number for Patrick Surtain there. He did a really good job this past season. And, you know, the Denver Broncos defense wasn't much to write home about this past year. Remember, they gave up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins. Patrick Surtain, one of the few standouts for that Denver Broncos defense. What would it take? This would be the most expensive trade of the 3 trades we're talking about here today. If you bring in Pat Surtain, then not only are you giving up your first-round pick this year, but then we're throwing in the second-round pick next year, as opposed to the third-round pick that we talked about with the others. And then we'll throw in Rashad Bateman as well. The Broncos could need some receiver help there with that group. I think this trade, it's costly, but it could be very rewarding potentially for the Baltimore Ravens if they were to go that route. So, with that said, we've gone through all 3 trade scenarios now. Which one would you trade for? Do you like the Aiyuk trade? You like the Burns trade or the Pat Surtain trade? You can't do all 3. You can only pick one because we only have 1 first-round pick to trade. If it's the Aiyuk trade, type A for Brandon Aiyuk. If it's the Brian Burns trade, type B for Brian Burns. If it's the Patrick Surtain trade, type S for Pat Surtain. Let us know in the comments section which trade you would pull off. Appreciate you joining us here on this edition of Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. For the latest happenings in your favorite team, we got you covered all offseason long. When the Ravens make a move, if they were to make one of these trades or make a big signing, whatever it is, you know, we're going to cover it here on the channel, bring you a video as quick as we can. Subscribe now, youtube.com/Ravens TV for all the latest Ravens news and rumors. We are your Ravens offseason headquarters. Subscribe now for free. We'll see you next time.